Hello everybody. Several of you have been asking for a little more information on the science of why this treatment works, and I think that's a really important thing to talk about, because if you have more confidence in it, a little more understanding of it, you will be more inclined to do it. It might even help you through the placebo effect, but that's not how it works. If anything, that just adds to how well it works. Okay, so to begin with, when I was in Hawaii, I learned from Hawaiian healers that it's a good idea to explain to people the genealogy of where you get your ideas and your healing techniques from. So I'm going to talk about briefly some of the mentors and their techniques and where I got these ideas and how I was able to synthesize them together. So the first mentor is the great-great-granddaddy of all applied kinesiology, who was George Goodhart, a fantastic man, a wonderful doctor. And most particularly for this technique, one of his students who became one of my mentors, and that is Dr. Walter Schmidt. I actually have a little picture of him right there. And this is his cohort as well. But this is Dr. Wally, as we call him, and he did fantastic work with the nervous system and the neuroimmune system in helping to balance the body so it functions correctly again. So the first thing we want to look at is what happens to the body when the neuroimmune system is put under stress that it cannot quickly and gracefully handle. The first thing that happens, if it's extremely severe, is sort of a variation of the well-known syndrome of shock. I'm going to read you what shock is. This is from a very, well, not ancient, but an old textbook. It's ancient because I had it in school. Okay, let's see. Shock is characterized by a low perfusion circulatory insufficiency leading to an imbalance between the metabolic needs of vital organs and the available blood flow. As a result, oxygen and nutrient delivery to cells and removal of waste products are decreased. Depending on the severity of these deficits and their duration, the cells of many vital organs often suffer injury and even death. That's all I need from this book right now. But what that means is when your body is under tremendous stress, and it doesn't have to be shock, which is like, an auto accident type thing, but it can be from an infection that's invading, your neuroimmune system starts to lose its perfect control of the tone of your vascular system and how the circulatory system moves things around. So our goal in this treatment is to restore that, and we can actually do it with this physical hands-on process, which you saw in the other video. And that's where the very remarkable work of Dr. Wally Schmidt comes in. Okay, so what Dr. Schmidt did was invent something which we now call injury recall technique. It was originally used for injuries, the kind that actually lead to shock, but he was able to transfer the same principles over to injury from noxious substances, which we call offenders. And that can be food or chemicals, or in this case, a nasty virus and the cytokine storms and issues that it creates. So what he did was discover that he could use the maneuvers, which were discussed in our prior video. You'd use those maneuvers in combination with stimulation of certain points to reset your sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the full name for those systems is the autonomic nervous system, and it's how you can tell the difference between fight or flight or rest and digest. So what happens in the presence of offenders, like the virus, is that portions of your body, and particularly certain organs if they're affected, are thrown into an unbalanced state. They may stay in an overly sympathetic state or an overly parasympathetic state. And this affects their circulation, their lymph drainage, their blood supply, their oxygenation, the nutrient delivery, and the removal of wastes. And it does it all just as described in the medical textbook that's so ancient. So what we can do is we can use the known reflexes from Eastern medicine which are demonstrated here. This is a book, one of the classics of applied kinesiology, and in it we see this rather intimidating looking chart that lists all of the circuits. Now, they're listed by muscle because we work with muscles, but actually every single one of those muscles is related to an organ circuit. Now for that, we have a better little chart which not only relates it to the organ circuit and the muscle, but the acupuncture meridians as well. Now these, the ones over here, are called Chapman's reflexes or neurolymphatic reflexes. And what we can do when we do injury recall technique is we stimulate them as demonstrated in the other video, and then we do the maneuver. And at that point, that resets the body in that particular area. If it's hyperactive, if it's overly sympathetic, it will calm down. If it's dragging and sagging, so to speak, it will revive it and bring it up. And just doing that over all the neurolymphatic reflexes that have been identified, and actually that was by a Western doctor, Dr. Chapman, but it very much corresponds to the meridian system. It's not the same, but it's associated. And when we do that, we normalize the neuroimmune response, and it works much better. Those exact areas start draining waste, bringing in nutrients, oxygenating, and functioning better, fighting the virus more efficiently, and you feel better unless you're overwhelmed again, in which case you have to treat them again. To support what's going on with the organs, you need the proper nutritional resources, which is why we recommend the protocol, the most important things that the cells tend to be lacking, and the herbs that are most able to subvert that virus from doing the damage it does. But as your body fights it, the hands-on aspect is absolutely crucial and extremely effective, and I wish it were more widespread because I know nothing like this is happening in typical hospitals or other situations where people are sick. But you can do it on yourself. You cannot hurt yourself doing this. You can only help yourself if you do it reasonably correctly. The body will pick right up, correct itself, and function better. So the last thing I wanted to mention was the concept of the offender, and this comes ultimately, I would say, from homeopathy, and there's a lot more modern work that's been done, and this has been done. Well, my particular person who taught me this was Dr. Robert Marshall, who founded Premier Research Labs, and this is one of his workbooks, and as you can see, he has a much more user-friendly chart with all these little neurolymphatic reflexes and so on it. He didn't actually use this technique, but he charted or used the charted reflexes in other ways that were really remarkable. And he also was a strong advocate and did a lot of research of using offenders, such as the one that we use in the other video, on the person instead of actually in their mouth. We don't really want that offender in our mouth. And he relied on work in the quantum biofield area to show that the human body knows when there is something like that in its field, and that it can react to it on a neuroimmune level. So I hope that's not as clear as mud now. I hope it gives you some idea of what the basis is of what we do. I don't know, perhaps we can have questions or comments available, and I'll be happy to look at it. Of course, I love this stuff. I've been doing it for 20 to 30 years, and it's developed more and more along the way as we take in more knowledge from all various disciplines and use them in our clinical practice. And we hope that we're the cutting edge of, in a clinical sense, of things that can be investigated and researched more and hopefully come to more broad use in society and in the medical field. But until then, we'll keep doing it, and I hope you do too.